Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. I'll be your host, Dave Trumbore. Joining me as always, it's Sean Paul Ellis. How you doing tonight, sir?
David. I'm doing well. How about yourself, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited to get back to some more drug PSAs from these animated shows. This is our part two. This is our first time we've done a two-parter here. It's a very special episode. We're teaching the kids about drugs and alcohol, telling them to either, try it or stay off it, depending on if you're me or Sean. And I think perhaps we have another special guest with us tonight, Sean.
We do.
Yeah.
We have a continuing special guest, Laura Barber. Welcome to the program again,
Welcome
Laura.
back, Laura.
How are you doing?
I am fabulous, Sean. Thank you for asking. Dave, a pleasure as always.
I am ecstatic to be in your company once again, Laura. Your
I
intoxicating presence.
I am a tremble.
Ooh, a tremble. I like that. I'm all a Twitter.
Hey, if you guys want to take it offline.
We might.
I
Part
feel
three
like
is
I'm
going
a
to be the
third- I
after
feel like
party.
I'm a third wheel here.
No, join in.
Text me, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave, what's your kick?
I don't even know what that means. Is that like a drug? Is that a space drug?
Don't worry about it.
Hold on,
Are
is
you
that a
on
space drug I can do?
Hey, Dave, what's your Snapchat?
What's your... Is that the little ghost? I'm really up on my technology.
I'm
don't
on
worry.
Grindr. Are you, Dave?
I'm on Crystal Twist.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it back,
So we
bring it
should-
back around.
All right. Let's just totally date this episode
Yeah, right.
intensely in early 2015.
So if you're listening to this in 2045, welcome to your history lesson.
it just
you
sounded
guys
like
on-
an old time like.
Hey, so if you guys need like 100 free hours of AOL, just let me know. Hit me up.
Yeah.
Just feel free to hit me up for CD.
I got us.
Throw some discs in the mail for you.
Shit.
Oh, pardon. Was my beeper showing up on the mic?
It's causing a little bit of interference. So yeah.
so
Dude,
it's
that's
a drug
great.
deal.
Actually, I was
It's a drug deal.
I was listening to our inspirational forebear, How Did This Get Made, earlier today from like the really early episodes, where they still, when they do viewer mail, they still use that AOL You've Got Mail voice. It just sounds
that's
so
adorable.
bad. They make fun of it, obviously, but it just sounds so bad. So bad. I don't know what that has to do with our part two episode, but
Well, let me set the groundwork.
yeah, let's do it.
I think how did this get made is a question I ask of every cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
We-
We're like
we-
the animated wing of that show. Yeah. Not affiliated whatsoever.
They bring me in for the outsider / lady perspective.
The ladies' corner. With Laura Barber.
Laura's Ladies Corner.
You're here because you have strong opinions.
Strong
like.
opinions.
Yep.
Strong opinions.
Which helped carry the show
Help exactly.
while
so
we drink.
to set the
And I bring the lady viewers because they identify with my POV.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh god.
It's a strong percentage.
Uh-huh.
Polling results are strong in the lady percentage. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Man.
So to set the scaffolding for everybody, we are talking about public service announcements or PSAs.
Mhm.
So we have watched a variety or a smorgasbord of different full-length episodes
All
that
right, Templeton.
talk about drugs, as well as some smaller vignette or PSA episodes that you would have kind of condensed at the very end of an episode. And so we've watched two episodes and we've watched 4 quick PSA vignettes. And so we're going to kind of delve into the madness that is this bullshit.
Yeah, and we like Sean said, we kind of pulled from everywhere. So there's old stuff, relatively newer stuff. There's some mix of kind of live action, animated stuff. If you didn't listen to our part one to kind of get an idea, go back and take a listen to that because we
Go back.
Go back.
Why would you go back?
Don't go out of
commuting.
order.
You're commuting to work right now, you loser. Just
Yeah.
go back.
Just go back and learn about drugs, and then join us for part two.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Hey, what would you guys do? Just curious. Say you're a kid, you're out on the street, you're walking around, normal time of day, broad daylight, whatever. You're going home from school, and some kid you've never met before just kind of comes up to you in the middle of nowhere and just offers to sell you drugs. How would you handle
Macaulay Culkin walks off the set of Party Monster.
that? Exactly.
Offers you some drugs.
Very specific instance, but yes. How would you handle that?
Oh, well, I would obviously say no.
Is that it?
I'm not somebody who partakes in illicit substances, so I would just say no.
Buddy, what if he tells you it's the best dope you can buy and you should try it?
Ooh, that's a hard sell.
I mean, that guy's a good salesman.
Still saying no on this one, Dave.
Still saying
I mean,
I would start to crack at that point.
See, and that's when you need like a team of like really confident, like professional, I don't know, Ghostbusters
Gorillas?
or something with a talking gorilla.
yep.
Yeah, that's when you need them as your backup. Now we've talked Ghostbusters on this show. We talked the real Ghostbusters, am I right? And Extreme Ghostbusters.
Correct.
We have never
So this
actually talked about this version of Ghostbusters.
Well, this is the Filmation version
Right.
of Ghostbusters
Right.
that, due to legal terms, could only be called Ghostbusters. That's why the cartoon that was of Peter Venkman and Egon Spangler had to be called The Real Ghostbusters.
Because of these assholes.
Fun fact:
Yeah.
this Ghostbusters actually came out, was a television series that only went for like 12 or 13 episodes. I think we mentioned this previously.
Right.
That was a live action that was in black and white that predated the classic movie Ghostbusters of the same name. So there was just a lot of copyright infringement and legal problems with doing this.
So I have to ask.
Go ahead,
I'm just going to be a stand-in for the audience.
please.
I had no idea of any of this. So can I ask? Because what we have here is a scenario. The kid walks out. He's like on a street, main street, and a club kid / punk / drug dealer
Yeah, sure.
offers him some dope.
A skater boy.
Because that's
whatever.
what cool kids are calling drugs
So they're
in
calling it dope.
1985.
Right.
Dope.
Best dope you can buy.
Yeah, and then the Ghostbusters roll up. It's a gorilla in a fedora.
Yep.
It's a woman.
Mhm.
I mean, you have your gorilla token. You have your woman token.
That's all you need, really.
And then,
Covering your bases in terms of
Demographics.
audience.
Yeah.
and then two or three nondescript white guys.
Two nondescript white guys.
So are they Ghostbusters like the real Ghostbusters are, in that they're ghosts and they go and suck them into a machine?
It's very
They
similar.
bust them?
It's very similar.
Okay.
There's a lot of
Because
busting. Yeah.
Okay.
And in this
One thing I
scenario,
noticed
yeah, what'd you
In
notice?
this, one thing I noticed in this, and I don't know if you all saw this, because I actually rewatched it like 6 or 7 times. It's very short, and it was the first thing I watched, so I was very dedicated. In this episode, as the drug dealer is doing his creepy cartoon drug dealer thing, it's like, "You want some dope? It's the best dope ever." There's a storefront behind him, and there is a little girl mannequin just standing there,
Oh,
like
that's so
watching
creepy.
this whole scene.
What?
It
I
is
did
so
not notice that.
creepy.
That.
It is so creepy.
I was distracted not only by the talking gorilla in the fedora that stuffs the drug dealer in a trash can, probably severing his spinal cord. I
Yes.
was also super distracted by the kid who was offered drugs, turning to the camera with the creepiest fucking eyes I've ever seen in a cartoon, just staring at you wide-eyed, telling you not to do drugs, and kind of like this mantra that made me want to do drugs. So I missed this mannequin in the background.
Yeah.
I need to watch it again.
That was very creepy. Again, I will say that this is notable because of the idea of when you dispense a drug dealer, you have to put them into a trash receptacle
Oh, right.
Yes.
for some reason. I don't know why this has been a reoccurring like trend.
I think it's a trend of violence always being better than drugs.
Yeah, totally acceptable.
Yeah. If you have a choice between simply just being like, well, I wish I hadn't taken that hallucinogen, I'm going to walk away and I've learned a life lesson, or I'm going to kill the person who gave me this drug.
Yeah, I'm just going to paralyze this kid from the waist down.
Who is sitting around thinking to themselves like, man, I have some regrets about taking all that Molly at the club last weekend, but like, I have zero regrets about killing those 3 kids. Like,
About stuffing
zero
all those
regrets
kids
at
in the
all.
trash cans.
Molly, I'm cool with. Took a lot of it. Snorted it off of a girl's chest. I'm all right. But man, those 3 kids that I killed
Deserved it.
whatever. I'll sleep soundly tonight.
Because those criminals are off the streets.
God damn it.
I'm just walking around
insane.
severing people's spinal cords.
Well, I think it's an ongoing and sometimes literal dehumanization of the people who are selling drugs.
I mean, they are people too. It's
Yeah.
the funny thing that they never talk about is that those people I want to say, statistically tend to be in a position of poverty, and they are not addressing the idea of helping and working with them to get them to stop dealing drugs in the
We're
first
not looking
fucking
at
place.
socioeconomic determinants. Where the fuck was David Simon?
This got serious. And look, not to date this show at all, because if you're listening to this in like 2045, you can probably just 3D print LSD in your living room at this point. But yeah, I mean, we're living in a time where like just the legislation surrounding marijuana and medicinal use, and whether or not you can just buy it readily at pharmacies versus a doctor's prescription, things like that. I mean, it seems like it's finally starting to get a little bit of relaxation built into the legislation, but welcome to 1985, where talking gorillas are totally cool and stuffing kids in trash cans are perfectly fine. But to even be offered dope is not to be.
The sound of disgust. So the Ghostbusters, the Ghostbusters, not the real Ghostbusters, roll up.
Correct.
And the guy's like, "What, you guys want some dope?" And the woman, I don't even know her name. She's like, "No." It's like this very like firm. And then he's like, "What about you?" And the gorilla's like, "No way."
Yep.
Just crams them in a trash can.
Laura, I want to say that's so. As much as I think that is a problem, here's the other problem. He's a shitty dealer. He's just offering it up to any he's not.
Dude, he's
asking
just
for
a corner kid, though. You know, I mean, he's
not,
just
I mean, these corner kids, they gotta put in work too. I mean, it's not just easy streets and high rises for them.
I mean, he's got to get the re-up from Poot at the end of the day, and if he's short, it's not going to go well. So it's just how
I feel
it
like
is.
somebody just really recently watched The Wire.
I did actually. I think I'm just starting the 4th or 5th season. I love Poot. Look, I am much more comfortable talking about fictional drugs in kids' cartoons. So let's talk about Spark for a second. Just a brief second here.
Yes.
This one, you might not know this one. I don't even know the name of this episode it came from. We kind of found a snippet of this just bizarre G.I. Joe episode where I don't want to ruin it. So, Sean, go ahead. You seem like you had a thought on this one.
Oh, well, I was more inclined to toss this over to Laura because I thought she had some astute observations about the fashion choices.
Why, thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
And welcome to Laura's Lady Corner.
Tune in, ladies. Fellas, you can just go get a beer or a joint or something. Just
Go
chill
get
Zone
out,
out,
just
bros.
zone out for a couple seconds.
Zone out and scratch your dicks, bros.
Ladies and talking gorillas, listen up. This is for you.
Lean in, ladies, because I have a little insight here regarding the fashion inspiration for the villain in this episode of G.I. Joe, where G.I. Joe and Cobra team take down a Spark facility. If, like me, the phrase Cobra team doesn't really resonate, let me just tell you, this villain looks exactly like Karl Lagerfeld. That's right, the head designer for Chanel. Ring a bell? Yeah, he was also the inspiration for the Will Ferrell fashion designer in Zoolander. Mugatu. We have the dark wraparound glasses, sort of a preternaturally white hair, a white button-up shirt. Although the villain...
Is it a Mandarin collar?
Yes, in the episode... Sean knows what a Mandarin collar
I
is.
just assumed that was the color. I assumed he was talking about an orange color. I have no clue what he's talking about.
Throwing surprises.
Welcome to the ladies' corner. You can come in.
How's it going? Glad to be here.
Yes, it's a Mandarin collar with sort of a pearl button. And in the preparation for this episode, I shared several photos of Karl Lagerfeld,
Which are amazing.
which I think we should put up on the Tumblr.
Yeah, I'll put these up on Tumblr.
Yeah, there's one where he's sitting on a quilt that looks literally like it was made from skinned Lhasa Apsos. It is a quilt made of dog fur.
So furry.
And yet all of that is fine in the fashion industry, correct? But Spark is not to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spark is clearly crack.
I would assume as much.
Because Karl Lagerfeld is sort of like, yes, I'm going to spark in every corner of the city. And then his henchman.
Right.
He kind of looked like the dude from Spiral Zone. He looked like the main guy, the zone leader from Spiral Zone, just chilling on his motorcycle.
just picture in your mind your typical sort of super butch, evil cartoon guy,
Yeah.
and that's this guy, henchman.
yeah.
And he's like,
Flat top.
the inner city distribution center is under attack, which is pretty much the most 1980s thing
Yeah.
anybody has ever said in a cartoon.
No. I want to say the line that comes up next where he goes, "This could be bad for business." I was like, "You fucking think so?"
He's like,
You got people firing guns at your building.
And not just
asshole.
people, but a team up of Cobra and G.I. Joe. So much like the Cops episode where the Cops and Crooks teamed up, it is drugs are so bad, you guys, that villains and heroes have to team up together to take them down. That's some heavy shit. That's some heavy shit.
Oh man.
Anything else from those short PSAs before we jump into this this next episode here?
Are the bros back from their dick scratching?
Yeah, I
Hey,
think they're
what's up?
back. I can hear them grunting and snorting in the corners there.
I mean, I
think
got
they're coming back.
invited into the ladies' corner, so I've been here for a while. But
Ladies' corner.
ding. So I will say this next PSA was probably I don't know how to correctly articulate the insanity that is in
dude,
the level of insane. I want to say after watching this, my face melted off like I had looked at the Ark of the Covenant, and I was like, I paused for a moment and just went, "Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding!" I had to watch this 3 times
Yeah.
because I have so many questions.
Dude, every time I thought it had maxed out on craziness, it just went to another level. Because like the first 5-10 minutes are kind of slow, but then it just keeps getting fucking more and more insane. And I just was like, well, where is this going to end? And it ends in a very surprising place, which we'll talk about. But we are talking ThunderCats, the episode Crystal Canyon. Now, we've talked ThunderCats before. That was our 25th episode special about 6 months ago or so. We did not quite get to Crystal Canyon because this one comes later in the series. This is where the other Thunderians, kind of like the Thundercat cousins, show up, and also the Lunatics, which we had not talked about before. But both of them, well, at least the Lunatics play kind of a bigger presence in this one. So, Sean, do you want to kind of give us a little bit of context about how we get into Crystal Canyon?
I mean, I
You just want to get to the crazy?
no, I mean,
Because the
you
plot
know,
doesn't really matter at all. It's all about Tigra, really.
Yeah, I mean, this. There's just a lot in this episode, and none of it matters. And I think that's the funniest. That's the weirdest part. It is.
So, can I just say, this is the first
please.
episode of ThunderCats I have ever
Oh,
seen in my life.
no, what a disservice.
You're so welcome.
That's so unfair. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
And I
no.
just want to say, as a note, I love how everything, like, you can't just be like, oh, it's the ThunderCats. It's like, it's the ThunderCats. There's Thundera. The ship runs on a Thundronium core. We must.
They're flying in the
everything-
Thunderstrike. Yep.
Yes. Everything must be thunderous.
Yep.
Yes.
Thunderous
and-
applause at the end of this episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
For those of you who haven't seen it, it's probably 0 people listening to this. It's just a lot of more roided out dudes in singlets. Although the hair is better in this.
But furries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
furries.
furries.
They're like roided up like bears.
I've never heard the Thundercats described as roided up bears
Sort of-
before, but I like it. It works.
Yeah, it's sort of like Wolverine, right? Where he's
Yeah.
kind of like a roided up bear,
Yeah.
like has some big hair, kind of sexy, but not really sexy. I wouldn't say the Thundercats inspire any kind of feelings of sexiness.
Feline feelings. I
mean,
tell you what, for the furry
am I
crowd.
alone? Am I alone
I
in
hear
that
what
one?
you're saying,
Yeah.
but I'm looking at your face and I'm getting otherwise.
Yeah, sparking
Or
up some
not, or
furry
not.
curiosity. Or not.
I will be back in 5 or 10 minutes.
You take your time. Laura's Lady could just go back in Laura's Lady corner and just take care of some business.
I feel so. This episode, as we mentioned, it really features Tigra.
Mhm.
Uh,
Does Tiger get episodes very often?
no, and that's the note that I
That's the
wrote down.
main
It was
thing,
like
yeah.
the voice actor for this guy must have been like, "This is my chance to show my range."
And he took it to fucking 11 out of
He
10
fucking
because
said,
this guy
"God."
just went for it, and I love it. Because, yeah, Tiger's kind of, he's like their engineer, he's kind of the smart guy, but he's always kind of like the second in command. He even has a moment in this episode where he's just like, everybody thinks Panthro can fix everything, and fuck him, I'm just as good as he is.
Yep.
it's intense. Like this guy is really exercising some demons in this episode. So
there's
Tigra
a
always,
lot.
yeah, he kind of gets the shaft. And in
It
this
does it
one,
in this really fetching one shoulder singlet. I
Yep.
just want to put that
which
out
I
there.
love. We need to talk about like his physical deformation by the end of the episode because I had to like
Yes.
get really close to my monitor to see what the hell was going on, like why he became like a skeletal shadow of his former self. But
Yeah.
it's all about the Crystal Canyon and this
The key and the keystone.
and the Keystone. Nothing to do with Pennsylvania, but there's a shout
That's
out.
that was the best part. Was they were just like, "What's the keystone?" And I shouted at my iPad, "Estate."
Yeah,
I
the
just-
best state
and then
ever.
I
Yeah.
realized that I was there just watching it by myself, and I was like, "I'm an idiot.
Yeah, same here, buddy.
I'm angry for no reason."
I have to touch it. It's pure energy.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a source of pure energy, right? So it's this crystal that's deep, deep, deep in the heart of Crystal Canyon. It doesn't matter why they're there. It doesn't matter why they're going for it. All you need
If
to
you're
know,
looking for a plot, just shut up.
this is a MacGuffin that Tigra, he just goes after it, and he gets addicted to this thing like from moment one. As soon as he touches this thing, it unlocks like unlimited potential in Tigra. So,
Yeah, well,
yeah, go ahead.
This is
well,
like
well
Bradley
let's say,
Cooper
so
in
this
Limited-
Yes,
episode, what
exactly.
happens?
Thank you.
I mean, I don't really know a lot about this universe
Probably
that
for
we
the
set
best.
ourselves into.
Yes.
Let me just do a little synopsis. So there's
This is going to be
the
great.
guy- yeah, so ThunderCats getting ship. There's some shit going down in the Crystal Canyon.
Yep.
They fly the ship in. There's the Lunatics,
Yep.
who are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And the ship is kind of weaving in and out of these crystals, and the Lunatics have the really good idea to basically stand in front of a reflective surface.
Yeah.
So it looks like there are many of them, and
Yep. They got duped by mirrors.
Yep,
yeah,
by reflections.
they're like-
the Hall of
they're
Mirrors.
using, like I quote, they're using reflective images to confuse us.
Yeah. Now, meanwhile,
at
they've got a guy on the ship who's basically like a telepathic, and he's blind, but he can normally just like pick shit out, and he's just like, "No, I can't do it this time. Sorry, I'm just gonna
Who's
blast things at
blind?
random."
The old dude.
Yeah, Linkso, the guy that breaks his legs and looks like he has leprosy.
Oh, okay. I did not realize he was blind.
Yeah,
It
he's
doesn't really
blind.
come through in
Oh,
this
because
episode.
you didn't realize he's blind because he's driving the fucking ship.
Exactly, just piloting and shooting.
All right, so backstory
Yeah.
is helpful now. And so they're just like, we're confused. So they just start shooting everywhere. Something happens to the Thundronium core. The ship crashes.
Everybody just
there's-
basically gets decimated.
everybody. It's dramatic.
Yeah,
It is.
broken
It's
legs.
dramatic. And Tigra's like the only one who can really get around and move.
Right.
And so he and the cat,
Snarf.
Snarf,
That was
Okay.
really good, and by that I mean just fucking awful.
yes, they go into a cave. It's covered in stalactites. And the minute that Tigra says, "We've got to be quiet or these stalactites will fall," you're like, that fucking cat is just going to make a noise. And indeed, the cat's like slips and it's like, oh!
You might even call it a Keystone Cops moment. Oh, no, I just killed it all.
So they end up they're fleeing from the stalactites. It's like kind of an Indiana Jones moment. They end up in this cavern where the keystone is, which is a sort of an oblong emerald object that everybody wants to get their hands around.
Yeah. Why not?
And
Why
I
not?
don't blame them because as soon as Tigra touches this thing, he just goes from like 0 to 100. Like he
Have
gets
you
this
guys-
creepy aura. He gets super
Yes.
powered up.
Yes, he goes out back to the crash site. Have you guys seen the episode of Broad City where they go to they eat seafood and one of them accidentally stabs herself with an EpiPen?
Nope.
Yes.
And then she's like, "Oh, I feel great."
Just powered up.
Yep.
And then just like carries her friend out of the restaurant. That was what I thought of in this moment. So yes, it's 2015, and just like let's put a pin in this cultural reference. It's like I'm like, oh yeah, Tigra just feeling good. Like the Keystone is allowing him to save his
Feeling
friends.
great.
Yeah, like there's nothing right now that's telling us it's a bad thing.
Look, and I gotta
Right.
say, perhaps the best moment of this entire series was when Tigra's all like ripped up on this power, and he like Snarf is telling him like, maybe this thing isn't so good. It's kind of he fucking backhands Snarf just right out of midair. It is the best moment in the series, and at that point you're thinking like, maybe this thing isn't so bad because you just beat the shit out of the most annoying character in television history.
I think the one of my favorite parts, and the thing that was so bananas about this episode is the point where they were just like, they're like, like you can't use the keystone anymore. You'll become a slave to it. And he just goes, a slave, a slave. And I was like, oh my god.
The voice actor, I wish I would have looked him up, but he just goes off the rails in this one, and it's great. Like he starts just like flipping around, and he fixes the ship, and he's just like, oh, while I'm here, yeah.
Dave, he goes full fucking Nick Cage in this.
Oh,
like,
he really
it's
does.
insane.
He's like Season of the Witch, Wicker Man, Nick Cage, just losing his mind, and it's great, and I love watching it.
My notes say coked out Dale Carnegie.
Ooh,
You know, yeah, when friends influence people. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, you've underestimated me all this time. Like, I could fix everything. Like, I'm really cool. Like I'm outgoing now.
Yeah, all of his his shortcomings, all of his things that he's been kind of holding inside for the longest time, like his feelings of inferiority to Lion-O and to Panthro, all this shit comes bubbling out to the surface because he's just coked out of his mind and he can't stop his mouth from running. So he gets to the point where he's like super paranoid. He's fixing stuff while holding onto the keystone. You know, the ThunderCats walk in because it's their hangar, so it's like normal thing for them to just walk in, and Tigra just straight up attacks him. I love the fact that Lion-O just kind of like shrugs it off, and he's like, lighten up, Tigra. He doesn't duck for cover, he doesn't return fire, nothing. He's just like, hey, lighten up. He almost singed my beautiful red hair. It's just...
He just really likes attacking people with wrenches.
He
That's
really
the
does.
first of
Yes.
two
Yeah.
in that
Yes.
episode.
Yeah, throws all the wrenches. To the point that Lion-O says, this could be a threat as dangerous as any the ThunderCats have ever faced. Which you should know he says pretty much every episode. So,
Yep.
I just
So
wanted to
here's a
point that out.
question.
Yeah.
There's some kind of figure who appears to tell them that the keystone is bad.
Jaga.
Jaga?
The
So-
Tupac hologram that just shows up with knowledge every once in a while.
So they have a shared hallucination
Yes.
that tells them that this crystal is bad.
So, and again, going back to, guys, in part one, we did a He-Man episode where basically you had this Adonis telling you that, like, body image it starts with feeling good about yourself. The same kind of irony applies in this case because Tigra, he doesn't really have anything. Lion-O has his Sword of Omens, which is basically just this phallic symbol, a small dagger that grows into this massive broadsword that kind of powers up the Lord of the ThunderCats. He uses it hundreds of times throughout the series. So now Tigra has this thing that lets him actually feel that kind of power, and they're telling him that he can't have it, and that it's draining his power.
And he even makes reference to that bullshit.
Yeah,
He's
exactly,
just like,
which I
well,
liked.
Lion-O gets the sword,
Yeah.
and he gets
He's
to
like-
be a master.
he
of it. Why
says-
can't I be the master of this cool thing?
He
It's
says,
never
Lion-O's the master of
fully
the Sword of
answered.
Omens.
No,
right,
it's
right,
not.
right.
It's just told because you can't.
Yeah.
Some people get to have magic and other people don't.
Yeah. He's like, you're second in command. This is where you stay. So Tigra,
Right.
he doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep. He just fights fucking everybody that comes across him to the point that, like, you see a physical degradation of his body. Like, his clothes are kind of hanging loose off of him, and he's like really just kind of like drawn and sallow faced, and it's really kind of disturbing actually to see what happens to him, especially when one of the Lunatics steals the keystone. He gets powered up instead, and then eventually, yes, obviously it's predictable that Tigra is going to eventually save the day. But here's the crazy thing. It's Lion-O's sword and the power that it has to kind of like fire up the ThunderCats that re-energizes Tigra. So what the fuck is the difference between the two? That's my
Nothing.
question to you guys.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's
Drugs
no
are bad,
difference.
swords okay.
No, I want to say, to go even further on this idea,
Yeah.
some people are privileged, some people are not.
Yeah, and know your place.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It is really messed up, actually. The more I got into this show, I was just like, what the fuck is happening? And this is not okay.
But even more fucked up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
say,
there's more,
so-
kids. There's more to this episode.
So the way this episode kind of resolves is the
The rest of the ThunderCats.
the rest. What do you help me out
Okay.
here, because I don't know any of these names.
So Panthro.
Yeah, just everybody else. Bengali,
yeah.
Chitara.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way that I remember it
Okay.
is that it's the Lunatics. Something else is happening on the planet, and Tiger goes off half cocked, right, in the ship. Are the other ThunderCats with him?
The other ThunderCats were up on New Thundera, I think, at this point, just just dicking around. Like Panther comes back with a
They're on a
shitload of
different
gifts.
planet.
They're just visiting like a museum or something.
Oh well, no. What happens before that though is there's the showdown with the Lunatics where one of them gets the crystal and then he's super powerful.
We're Alluro.
Alluro.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to my name.
Yeah.
True. If you want to go by Alluro now,
if you want to be a supervillain, I am totally cool with that.
Alluro's evil corner.
Oh no. Oh boy.
I have the crystal. Now I'm super powerful.
You're getting a lot of segments here, and I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Alluro gets the crystal, blah blah blah. Little reversal of fortune, but then the crystal shatters and Alluro goes over the side of a cliff, and I think he's dead.
He's totally fine. He's totally fine. He's got like a jetpack. He's fine. He'll be fine.
But Tigre used his bolo whip.
Yep.
Suddenly has
and
a
destroyed
whip.
the.
He's like,
he destroyed his jetpack. I missed that.
His weapon.
It's real.
Deus Ex Machina. Yeah, it is 100%.
Out comes the whip, and
Ooh.
Now we're talking.
But gently.
Quickly, but gently.
Tiger, you never needed that keystone. You just needed that sweet, sweet whip.
You need a self-confidence and a whip. And
Here's
one of the other characters is like, what happened to him? And he's like, what would have happened to me? Like, if I hadn't... And it's basically it's like...
He's like, well, at least it happened to that guy and not me.
Yeah, somebody's dead. It's
now, here's what kills me about that ending, though. And we're getting to, like, the final kind of stinger of this. But the ending... Tiger's restored, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's back. Everybody's happy. He never fucking apologizes for anything. He never admits that he was at fault. He never says sorry for smacking you in the head with a wrench a couple times. He never says sorry for going off the rails and almost getting everybody killed. Nothing. He's just like, oh, hey, I'm back. Everything's cool. I know my place now, boss. That's it. And then the best part was when Panther comes back and starts handing out gifts to everybody. Now, if you think about it, this whole episode has been about, like, don't do drugs, don't get addicted, those things are bad. The first thing that Panther hands out to Snarf is fucking catnip.
Yeah.
He's like, Snarf, just go get high and just roll around and just see what you see. It's going to be a good time, buddy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And then Tiger gets he's like, here's a crystal scepter.
Right.
He's like, do you have one? In wood.
And everybody laughs because it's the funniest thing.
It's a joke that they would conclude an episode of Full House with. I cringed.
And I love how the Thundercats that are in this episode are all dying, and there's a shot of the other Thundercats who are just like, what?
Yeah, they're just like, oh, hey, what's up? We're on vacation.
Blank face.
Yeah, and then Sean, to your point, it was really odd when they closed this episode with a crane, like a helicopter shot of San Francisco. Didn't make any sense.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da.
Yeah, the painted ladies' houses. Real strange. All right, we're going to jump back into the PSAs now and do a couple quick hits before we get to our final episode of part 2. So we're going to do a little bit of a throwback to an episode we did in our video game month. This one is weird. I will warn you ahead of time on this one. This one is very strange. Sean, are you still hooked on the brothers?
After this, I am clean and clear.
You clean? You off the brothers?
This looked like... So this PSA is delivered by Captain Lou Albano.
Who looks terrible.
And it's as if someone kidnapped him, put him in a basement for a month, beat him a bunch.
Put him in a Mario outfit.
He seems like a nice guy. beat him and just pummeled him a bunch. Put a red cap on him.
Sprayed him down with Pam.
Sprayed him down
Oh,
with
he
Pam.
was so greasy.
He was so sweaty.
So greasy.
Sprayed him down with Pam cooking spray.
Yeah.
Then put a red cap with a red M on it and put him in a corner, and they were like, say the fucking lines. And he was like, oh, I get to leave, right? And they're like, you get to leave when you say the lines. And he's like, I'll do anything you guys want. Say the lines. And it is horrifying.
It will scare you straight. I'll tell you that much.
That is the setup, and I want to...
Scared me away from a spiral perm.
Oh, no. I could, like, smell his hair through the TV. That's how bad it was.
Just a lot of Aussie sprunch spray.
Oh, my God.
It is graphic.
Put some roux in your do.
It is upsetting.
So this
God.
masterpiece concludes with this almost snuff film concludes.
Oh, do you have his whole quote?
It goes so the very so this I will say is relatively sincere.
It
Yeah.
definitely was. I feel like it wasn't.
It's like your nice
Super
uncle
heartfelt.
at Christmas who's like, "Don't do drugs."
He's like,
Yeah.
you're about that age now where you might start doing some drugs, so I'm here to tell you, if fucking don't do it.
And then he's like the guy who like pulls out part of his mouth, and you're just like, oh, and he's
Or-
like, I lost this to cocaine, and you're like, oh my
Or he's
god.
holding the little microphone up to his neck. He's like, "I used to smoke."
Yeah. We laugh, but it's to avoid the pain of the reality of the situation.
And look, this gets
Gravity
worse
is
because what they make him say or what he chooses to say at the end of this thing.
Say the line.
Sean, do you have this? Do you have the whole thing?
Yep, I do. I don't know the whole thing. I just have the final line, and he goes, so picture this: in a basement,
Yep.
a month, pummeled, no food,
Bags under his eyes.
bags under
sallow
his
skin.
eyes, just
Looking like death's
almost
doorstep.
just red hat on, Pam cooking spray on his face, scaring Laura out of getting a perm. Somebody just looking at him, just saying, "Say the lines and you get to leave."
And I'm gonna do a lead in, buddy. And if you want the last line, it's all yours. Okay.
Do the leading.
Okay. So before we talked about these PSAs like to lead us in, they tell us who to talk to. So Captain Lou Albano looks at you in the way Sean just described, and he says, "Don't be afraid to turn to your priest, your rabbi, your minister, your moms, your dads, your teachers, because drugs can kill." And then his last line, Sean.
If you do drugs, you go to hell before you die.
Just let that sink in for a second.
Hold on.
Yeah, there's more.
I'm not done. If you do drugs, you go to hell before you die. Please.
That's what killed me. I'm sitting here, I'm watching this, and he goes, "You go to hell before you die." So my brain's like, well, hold on a second. And then he just goes, "Please." And they just cut out. I think, now hear me out. Sean, buddy, like this is serious right now. To your point, I think his script ended with, "You go to hell before you die." That "please" was the beginning of a plea for help to whoever was watching to please rescue Captain Lou Albano from this basement. And they just fucking cut him off like an ISIS video. Just done.
He looks so scared when he says, "Please."
Done.
It's so moving.
Please. And done. And just
Your
fade to black.
moms,
Not
your
even fade to black.
dads.
Your moms, your dads, your teachers, your priests, your rabbis.
Then the light goes out in his eyes.
His eyes, and then the scene, and that's done. And you never heard from. This is an internet fact. Captain Lou Albano was never seen again after this PSA.
Dave, if you were to lick your fingers and then extinguish a candle,
Yep. Like, Are You Afraid of the Dark style? Just fucking lights out.
that's what his face looks like.
He sees the blade coming. He's just done.
I feel like such an asshole.
No,
for
it's great.
laughing
It's one of the
about
best
it. It's
PSAs I've ever seen.
It's so sad.
He also, I will say for Captain Lou Albano, who I'd never heard of before.
Oh no.
So let me say to all of the ladies in the audience, pro wrestler, he has the greatest line in any Wikipedia bio I have ever read. And I quote, "Collaborating with Cyndi Lauper, Albano helped usher in wrestling's crossover success with a mainstream audience." Apparently he and Cyndi Lauper were best buds.
Yeah.
They wrestled. It was an
They
ongoing
wrestled.
thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
mean,
story I'd like to hear more about.
Dave,
Yeah.
it's all fixed. It's all
Oh,
fixed.
Come on, don't you you're killing me here.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Hey, I'm going
I
to
mean,
leave you
I-
with one more disturbing idea to ponder from this Captain Lou Albano PSA. Pretend that Luigi was the one behind the camera.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. It's going to haunt your dreams. Okay, let's move on to our next PSA. This is our last one. It comes from across the pond. This one was a weird one. Do you guys remember seeing this ever?
No, never.
No, this is a weird one we stumbled across. It basically features a somewhat German-sounding Superman. which is weird.
I think it
Saving,
was an English voice actor trying to sound American.
yeah,
Yeah.
which somehow ended up German. Like he got stuck. Like his passport didn't quite let him make it all the way over here, so he got stuck like halfway, kind of thing. I don't know. It was very strange. Uh,
We'd like to do some line readings from this one.
please do. I don't
I
have
do
any
it?
quotes on
All
this
right,
one.
we're gonna take.
Can you do it in
turns.
the worst Cockney
Let me see,
accent?
Superman, it's hard to give up smoking, not easy like nicotine says.
Nailed it.
Perfect. I could have sworn you were a British child from this PSA. That threw me off because like the Superman thing is fine, and then these British kids come in. You're like, well, hold on a second. Why are we in England all of a sudden? Now, Sean, can you describe? Maybe Laura can help you out here. Describe nicotine to viewers at home.
He looks like I will say that this is this is another reoccurring trope for drug dealers. They all look jaundiced.
Especially
He
the
looks
cigarette.
like-
We need to mention that this is just for cigarettes.
This is just for
Just
cigarettes.
for cigarettes. Very legal tobacco cigarettes. That's it.
This character Nick O'Teen looks like a jaundiced Snidely Whiplash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Imagine a Mr. Peanut made of a cigarette.
Yes. That is perfect.
Mr. Cigarettes.
Mr. Cigarettes.
I'll call Marlboro right now.
That is
I
fantastic.
have one in each of my gloved hands.
I love the fact that though, like Superman, so he swoops down, save the kids from whatever the dangers of cigarette smoking. He takes the cigarettes from Nick O'Teen, who then basically has like a panic attack and cannot survive without his extra cigarettes. So what happens to him? Do we see what happens to him?
Throw him in a trash can.
His head starts
Severs.
smoking.
Yeah, exactly. He just like spontaneously combusts. Superman just
Yeah.
killed a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just sort of there's this very dramatic image of Superman crushing a pack of cigarettes, and the cigarettes
Yeah.
just sort of going in all directions.
Yeah, which is basically a stand-in for Nick O'Teen. So he just like crushed this man's skeleton. Is just like
Yeah.
squeezed his ribs between his fists, and he's done now. He's not gonna hurt the kids anymore. For
Superman,
cigarettes.
did you kill Nicotine? Or is Nicotine living on in spirit like Nicotine said?
Oh, well, little Jane, I murdered him.
Oh,
She just and then Jane backs away slowly.
Finn.
Run along home now, Jane.
toodaloo.
Ah, now this all has been building up to our final episode, which we've talked about previously on this podcast, but it was a while ago, and it is so fucking good. We needed to revisit it. Now, Sean, how much do you want to go into this one here? Because there are moments of this thing that are just so bonkers, but then also so like supposed to be heart wrenching and just so out of left field.
I really don't know how much we have to talk about it. The thing that I will say that I think that we should really almost just jump to the end.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, we'll give him a little bit of context, but not too much plot.
I think all the lessons that are learned in this episode are learned at the end.
I personally loved watching this one again, knowing how it was going to end, because I got to pay attention to all the little details. It is such an insane episode with the cuts, with the interstitials that kind of link each of the little scenes together, with the dialogue and the shit that happens. So, of course, we're talking BraveStarr, the very infamous or famous episode, The Price. And, you know, as most situations when kids are faced with drugs, it's usually an anthropomorphic dingo in a suit with a gold tooth who is selling you the drugs. Is that correct? Is that statistically accurate?
That's 100% correct.
Okay, I thought
in
so.
this
Yeah, we did a
instance.
lot of research, you know, actual statistical, you know, criminal records, things like that. 99 out of 100 times, it's a dingo in a suit that gets
Guys,
to your kids.
so many dingoes are buying well-tailored zoot suits.
And they're taking control of our
I
nation's
can't even
cities.
find pants that fit.
I know,
and yet
it's
these-
crazy. Drug dealing is a lucrative trade, especially when you got something as powerful as spin.
So to set this up,
Space
there is a space drug
Yep.
called spin that is on this planet of New Texas. Laura
You can't even get through it.
So fucking hard at me. So there's a drug called spin on the planet of New Texas, and it is being sold, and people are buying it in droves.
Yep. So it's being manufactured by dingoes. It's being sold by a suited dingo.
Correct.
There's a bunch of like just normal guys about town that are all getting addicted to it. You know, having these crazy hallucinations, screaming about spiders, causing all kinds of havoc. Now, granted, if you remember, BraveStarr is about a somewhat Native American Marshall, Marshall BraveStarr, and his anthropomorphic horse creature named 3030. So this place is already pretty fucking trippy.
And 3030 has a gun that he carries with him called Sarah Jane.
Sarah Jane, the big old shotgun. Yeah.
So in this episode, the spotlight is really on the interaction between two boys.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Brad and Jay.
Yeah.
And Jay they have a fort that they have restored out of it looks like an old scrap
old
metal
space
or
junk. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It's pretty
So
sweet.
this space junk fort that they have, they are hanging out and they are relaxing and they are enjoying themselves and celebrating the fact that they have just gotten it to an operational point.
Right. Hey, what better way to celebrate than illicit space drugs bought from a dingo?
Yeah, this dingo comes a calling, and
do you remember
Brad
his
and Jay,
name? Do you remember his name?
It's
not as good as a dictum from Cops, but it's pretty close.
What is it?
It's Dealer the dingo.
Dealer the dingo.
Dealer.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Dealer puts Brad and Jay in a very challenging situation where Brad, thankfully, does the right thing and says no to taking spin.
You know what, man? That kid's a chicken. He's a chicken.
And a fink.
He's a chicken. Well, he can be a chicken. He can be a chicken all day. He's a chicken. He can be a chicken, but he shouldn't be a chicken and a fink. He shouldn't be a chicken fink.
We should mention the amount of times that Jay calls Brad a chicken and or a fink.
Oh boy,
is preposterous.
That is the perfect word for it. Half of the dialogue in this episode is the word chicken. It's that bad.
Incredible. So Jay decides that he is going to try spin,
right?
And this leads him. This is the precipice where he falls into the mouth of madness.
It's a dark path.
Immediately, and to the point where he is stealing from his mother, stealing the purse from his mother. He is begging for money from friends, and he's
hooked, man.
He's hooked, and
addicted.
he is deteriorating. I was watching this and the face of Jay went from like this spry young lad to like a 65-year-old like grimace within such a short period of time.
Yeah, very like skeletal.
It was sad.
Yeah, it was really sad.
It was sad. So this all culminates.
Yeah, keep in mind that 3030 and BraveStarr, the law of the town, are like they don't know about these kids' plight yet because Brad, he doesn't want to be a fink. So he hasn't ratted out Jay. He hasn't told the marshal yet. He's kind of keeping it to himself, and he's wrestling like, should I tell him? I don't want to get him in trouble. Should I just wait and see if everything's okay? Meanwhile, the law is trying to take down the factory. They take down the other dingoes. They're rounding up all the spin addicts, and they're trying to keep control of the thing. So everything is fine on their end. Yeah.
So Brad is Brad is put in this difficult situation of whether or not to be a fink and rat out his friend, or to continue to keep the secret and not be a fake.
Right.
So in this moment, the spirit that has guided BraveStarr on many adventure,
the shaman
appears. The shaman appears and says to Brad, "Would you rather break a promise, or would you rather lose a friend?"
Yeah. Which would you rather lose forever, a promise or a friend?
Or a friend.
Yeah.
And
Great line, actually. And I'm being completely serious.
I'm being 100% serious.
Yeah.
That I wrote down in my notes. Good fucking lesson.
Yeah. Of all the hours of these shitty shows that we've watched, that's probably the best thing that's ever happened in a show.
So Brad goes to tell BraveStarr, and BraveStarr is just leaving town at that moment, and they miss by a split second.
Yeah, so he's like, I guess I'll wait for him to come back.
Brad ends up sleeping on the stoop of the law office that's in town, and BraveStarr arrives the next morning.
Yep.
Brad confides in him and tells him that Jay has been taking spin.
Yeah, now at this point, like, Marshall's got everything wrapped up. He blew up the spin factory. He took the dingoes into custody. Doc Clayton is doing the best that he can to, rehabilitate these spin addicts. He's lost a couple of guys, so at this point you know that the spin addiction is a real serious issue because people have actually died from it. So these adults in the city have actually died, but they think they have it all under control.
In this moment, they go to this treehouse fort, this scrap metal space junk fort. Brad climbs the stairs, looks at Jay, and immediately faints.
He falls backwards out of the fort, and he kind of falls into the arms of people waiting below.
In the arms of BraveStarr, and BraveStarr guides him down and then climbs up into the space junk fort himself.
Yep.
And there's the shot that they have on this. Whoever directed this episode, the shot of this is so, it's great. It's a great shot, but it's brutal.
Right.
It in the foreground, the object that's in focus is the mother's stolen purse.
Mm-hmm.
In the background is BraveStarr looking down at this boy who is partially blocked by the purse.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think
just
he's holding
slightly
his hand
out
at
of
this
focus
point.
in
Yeah.
the distance, and you can see that the boy is on his is laying on the ground lifeless.
He's
Well,
dead.
you don't know. You see, so Brad fainted. You see BraveStarr holding his hand, and 3030 knows something's going on. So 3030 says, "What, Sean?"
Oh, I actually don't have.
Okay, I got you. So I got you.
No. Okay, so go ahead.
So
go ahead.
3030, the anthropomorphic horse creature, goes, "I'll call Doc Clayton." To which point Marshal BraveStarr looks. He's holding Jay's hand. He looks back out of the fort and he goes, "Don't bother. It's too late." And everybody loses it at this point, like viewers included. Everybody's surrounding him. You're just like, holy fuck, this cartoon kid is dead. He is dead from a fictional space drug. And that is the only time I think I've ever seen a cartoon actually go to that limit and be like, this kid fucking died from drugs. Everything else has just been like laughable up until this point. But
I
this
would
thing,
I would say that this is almost a flawless drug episode, with the exception of
the finale.
calling this, of the space drug,
the space drug,
like
right?
being called spin. Like if it was called something realistic,
Right.
I think it would have hit home a little bit more and resonated with an audience that was watching it. But I will say, in terms of the emotional grounding and the focus of this episode, just bravo.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Now, unfortunately, they made a poor decision at the end to have an extra PSA tacked onto this. So, a little bit of levity to lighten this up here at the end. What they do next, after that's all wrapped up, they fade out on the shaman with a single tear rolling down his cheek as if he just watched someone throw trash on a highway. So
Yep.
that is unfortunate. And then there's like an extra PSA that has the marshal holding a grave wreath, and he's standing over the grave of Jay. And he basically says just something like, if you do drugs, you'll end up dead or hurting people that you care about. And then the animation at the end is the jankiest thing you'll ever see. He just kind of like,
the worst.
he just robot kind of lurches off screen. And it's just, it's such an unfortunate end to this episode. It's like his body turns in 3 different sections to the side and then just slides off screen.
You get a 1/4 profile
Yep.
view from the left, a 1/4 profile view from the right,
Yep.
and you get like a 3/4 profile view, but at the same time.
It's basically like you can just hear the transformer noise at the same time, just as he just slides off screen.
As he just rips through space and time with his body
Ah,
and ruins a perfectly good, perfectly solid, grounded moment on why, and I will repeat, why you should not do drugs.
no. And this was a memorial to Raymond Hamada, who I could not find anything about. So, Raymond Hamada, I'm assuming R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. man.
We're thinking about you.
Devastating.
I have no idea who you are, but we're thinking about you.
I'm going to assume the worst.
Definitely the worst happened. 100%. But that was pretty good for our first 2 party guys. Round of applause there. Well done. Well done. Laura, thank you
Got
so
it.
much for
Did it.
joining us. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up here for tonight?
I will just say, I did not watch this episode
Oh,
of Gold Star.
BraveStarr.
close enough. No, you nailed it. Gold star for you, Laura. Gold star. Let's watch Gold Star.
But listening to you two recount the plot, I was riveted with the secondhand retelling.
It's a powerful,
And-
powerful episode. Yeah.
And I felt sad at the end.
Okay, I need to mention there's an anthropomorphic horse that may or may not
You've
have a
mentioned
sexual
that a
relationship with
thousand
the sheriff. So I need to point that out.
That's pretty much my favorite thing in the
Yep,
world.
Gold Star. It's the best.
I will
Gold
say,
star.
I will say, one of my favorite not random moments from that episode is when BraveStarr says "strength of a bear" and then throws a steel beam
Yes.
into the drug.
Dude, I
workshop.
put in my notes, I was like, spin must be like the most volatile fucking drug in the world if hitting it with a beam causes everything to explode.
I'm just gonna start saying "strength of a bear."
You have to say it with like an echo though, because you have to say "strength of the bear, the bear."
Like in bed.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You don't want speed of the puma. Is that what it was?
Yes,
You don't want that in bed.
Uh,
That's not good.
oh boy.
Yeah. Good
All right,
stuff, man.
that's
This has
all
been
I
a
had-
lot of
that's
fun.
all I had to add.
This has been a lot of fun.
Incredible.
I'm glad we finally got to do this. Listeners, I'm sure you have some favorite, PSAs or episodes out there. We were going to look at Cartoon All-Stars, the half-hour anti-drug PSA from the 80s that was fronted by George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush. Pretty fantastic. We just did not get to that one this time around. So, hey, maybe for another time, we'll do another drug PSA. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to email us, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. As for our guests, Sean and Laura, Sean, where can the folks find you on social media, and let them know what you're up to in the next couple of weeks?
Oh man, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sean Paul Ellis. Laura and I are going to be performing on May 19th at
For free.
at the Source Theater that's on 14th Street in between S&T. As a part of Wit's Herald Night. It starts at 9 p.m. You can find more information on witdc.org.
Excellent. And Laura, where can the folks find you on social media?
If you want to follow my up-to-the-minute retweets of funnier people, you can find me at Lura Lura. That's Lura Lura.
Can you change that to Gold Star? Is there any chance? With 2 R's?
Dave loves pressuring people into changing their Twitter account.
Yeah, we had Matt change his name to Bag of Sandwiches, and I think it's still holding strong.
I've learned my lesson here, Dave, and I'm just gonna say no.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Oh.
See, look, the fact that somebody actually learned something from this
Free screen.
podcast makes me feel good. Makes me feel good inside.
Hey, Dave, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Claw MD. You can also find Saturday Morning Cartoons on Twitter at Morning Tunes. Remember, that's morning with a U. You can also find Sean's handiwork over at our Tumblr page, SaturdayMorningCartoons.tumblr.com. Of course, you can check us out on our website, where we'll have all these episodes posted, Part 1 and Part 2 of the drug PSAs included, SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. You can subscribe on Titcher and... Titcher? What the hell's Titcher?
Titcher.
Ah, we were
Oh,
beers
man.
into this episode.
Gold star, Dave.
Gold Star Titcher. Titcher is a new streaming service that we are launching. Stitcher, that's the one, right? Stitcher and iTunes. You can subscribe to the podcast each and every week through there. If you guys have any suggestions for future episodes, anything that you like, that you don't like, anything that you want at all, just email us SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. And that's pretty much it for our contact info. Guess what, guys? We've got episode 50 coming up next week. Sean, do you want to tease the folks out there what we're going to be covering for this epic milestone?
I mean, it would be... I'd have to do it in a pretty broad way.
Can you do it in like a super deep, like, I don't know, Keith David kind of voice?
Do you want me to say it, or just tease it? I'm gonna say it.
You already did. I think that we gave him 2 pretty good teases, and if they couldn't figure it
Yeah.
out from that,
Do you want me to just tease it?
Oh,
I mean, just tease it like Lou Albano's hair.
oh my god. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do. I don't know if I could do this voice justice.
Nobody can.
So
One person can, and it's the guy who's the voice of the U.S. Navy.
yeah. So I will simply say, episode 50. We are going to be watching Disney's Gargoyles.
I am so fucking stoked for this show. I am hoping to not be let down. Not by us, because that doesn't matter. But I mean, the show itself.
I'm not a letdown. Don't worry.
I'm very excited. This is one thing that, like, just real quick, this is one thing that I am amazed that Disney, with them optioning everything under the fucking sun, I'm amazed that this has not become either a new cartoon or a movie franchise or anything like that. So we're going to get to it before they do. Episode 50, Saturday Morning Cartoons, Disney's Gargoyles. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will talk to you and see you next time. Thanks again.